Welcome back to elmagorecaps. Like and subscribe for more amazing recaps.
In the previous video, we met Neema, a little girl who loves animals and has made it her personal mission to pet all the dragons in the world. In her past life, she worked herself to death, so God decided to give her a second chance by being reborn into a beautiful aristocratic family in a world full of magical creatures and dangers. If you haven't watched the first video yet, please hurry over there and then come back here to continue following the adventures of our mini heroine. After her extravagant birthday celebration, Neema's parents decided it was time for her to start studying etiquette with Annalie, the best tutor in the kingdom that had previously taught Ralph and Karna. However, right from the start, Neema had a bad feeling about this lady who immediately insisted that the little girl needed to change her childish way of speaking. Annalie taught in an old-fashioned manner, and every time Neema made even the slightest mistake, she would physically punish her with a stick and proceed to say that a true lady was fully capable of controlling her emotions. Remember the priest? She had studied her whole life in his same church before becoming a tutor. In her room, Neema considered her options. She could have told her father about how Annalie was mistreating her, and he would have immediately sent her away. But instead, she decided to confront the old witch in a different way. The next time Annalie struck her, Neema offered her the best corporate smile she could muster, but it soon became clear that this alone wouldn't be enough to defeat her. After dinner, everyone noticed that the little girl had been behaving strangely lately, and her mother went to talk to her. Neema expressed her reluctance to have adults interfere, but Cerelia explained that in order to defeat Annalie, who was considered a perfect lady, Neema had to first understand her rival and learn everything she could from her to be taken seriously. Good manners alone wouldn't be enough. Her brother used his healing magic on Neema, relieving her pain, and after a year of lessons with Annalie, Neema seemed to master the art of etiquette like no other. And interestingly, something curious began to happen. For some reason, although Annalie appeared to behave just like before, she didn't seem a perfect lady for Neema anymore. There was something strange about her, and it didn't take long for Neema to discover what it was: racism. Deep down, her tutor was an elitist who claimed she would never stoop so low as to even speak to the beastmen folk. After an argument with Neema about why a nearby region was suffering from drought, while the church did nothing, Annalie struck the girl again, this time out of anger rather than to teach her anything. Undeterred, Neema stated that she had no desire to become vulgar like Annalie and that it was her obligation to represent the Osfi family as best as possible. Her tutor abandoned the lesson in a mix of shame and anger after Neema's words, and that's when Neema knew she had won. Daland Osfi obviously noticed the mark on his daughter's face and only refrained from firing Annalie at Neema's request. However, the etiquette lessons practically came to an end, and the little girl began to learn other things like embroidery and music. Realizing he hadn't spent much time with his daughter, he decided to take her on a trip to the north with him. The security of the lands there was the responsibility of the Osfi family, and lately, monsters had been causing problems for the locals. On the way, they played in the snow and had some quality time together. In the carriage, her father explained that Arcenta's economy was based on the trade of wood, milk, and other cold-resistant cereals. Neema loved the wild boar stew they ate at the inn so much that she ate again. Her father asked her to ask Sun, the red dragon, if he knew why the monsters were coming to the northern forests, when they usually lived further south. Sun said he hadn't heard of any monster migrations in that region lately, so it was decided that the group would explore the area the next day to better understand what was actually happening. Bright and early the next morning, the little girl was ready to go out with her magical rabbit backpack, protective necklace, and mini sword. Nox was also awake, tasked with watching the area and alerting her to possible threats. When a frightened little thing ran from Neema's group, almost killed by one of its members' swords, she decided to go after it alone. When she had the creature in her arms, they were both kidnapped by a group of goblins. Initially, their reddish eyes in the darkness of the cave frightened Neema a lot, but the creatures strangely didn't show themselves to be violent, and simply took her to a place with some other children. Meanwhile, her father was starting to understand what had happened. It didn't take long for Neema to discover that besides the three of them, there were also some adults who had been kidnapped by the goblins. Sun couldn't help them because Neema couldn't control his fire magic properly, and might end up hurting the others if she used a fireball to defeat the goblins. After a while, the kids started to feel hungry, and since the goblins hadn't locked them up, Neema decided to go out in search of food. After the initial scare of encountering this little creature, she explained that she wanted to eat something, and the goblin decided to give her a sweet orange fruit that Neema loved. When she said she needed more to take to her friends, the goblin just gave her more fruits without a thought. Seeing him peeling the fruits with his fingers, she decided to show him a better way to peel them, impressing the green skins. That's when their chief arrived and asked why they had kidnapped even more children. This big goblin was a hobgoblin and could speak the human language. Neema, as straightforward as ever, asked why the goblins had kidnapped her, and the boss explained that it was in their nature. They liked taking care of children, even if they were human. And when she asked why they attacked humans, the hobgoblins simply said they did it to survive and that the only reason they had left their native forest was because humans hunted them, killing everyone mercilessly. Not only the goblins but also several other creatures until they arrived in this region. In fact, what they wanted was their old life back and to live in the forest peacefully. Hearing this and remembering the mission given to her by God, the little girl devised a plan to help the creatures find a better place to live. For this, she asked the help of Nino and Pino, who despite initially being reluctant, decided to help her. Acting as bait, the two ran through the forest asking for help, and as predicted by Neema, her father decided to rescue the other children too. Using Sun's magic, she ordered the goblins to return to the cave, and when her father's group was about to enter, the impetuous hobgoblin came out and said he would return the kidnapped humans if they left them alone. When her father's attack was blocked by Sun's magic, he asked the little girl to come out and explain herself. When she apologized and joined him, his group attacked the hobgoblin again, and once more, Sun's magic saved him. This goblin had never been so lucky in his life because after all that, Neema, repeating what she had done with Sun, positioned herself between the humans and the supposed monster. Once she finally was able to explain the situation to her father, and he understood better what was happening, promising not to attack the goblins anymore. Notch warned them that an imminent danger was approaching from the forest. Now their group would have to deal with an enormous ice spider. Being the world's savior wasn't always rainbows and sunshines, Neema was realizing.